This episode is brought to you by North Texas Honda Dealers. North Texas Honda Dealers, they're here to help.
He has time, launches it to the end zone. Touchdown! Terrence Williams!
The throw goes to the right side for Crabtree. It's caught. He he's going hard. Red Raiders!
What's he up the 10? What's he up the right sideline? Yeah, he's got to go. He's tackled. Sam Houston wins it. The Bearcats capture their first FCS championship.
Hello, welcome to the Republic of Football. I'm your host, Ishmael Johnson, the college editor here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We're back live for the first time in a while. All of us back live for the first time in a while, I should say. Did a little audio episode 1 week. It was Yatu 1 week. And we're off for 1 week. And if you're watching, it's still not exactly the way you probably remember.
Yeah, you can't even see it on here.
Yeah, we're all here together at the same table for the first time.
What did they say? Tuesday day three's a crowd. It's crowded on this table here.
It's so weird because I'm not used to being on camera the whole time. I'm just used to chiming in every once in a while because I'm sitting over here on this desk, making sure that y'all sound good, making sure we're up on everything. But now I'm on camera the whole time with all of this new setup.
Welcome to the Rockstar Life.
So the reason why we are all at the same table is because
there's actually been some issues with the hardline internet, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And that's apparently that may be fixed, but the point is Ashley and Tepper at TFT decided to do this setup, and they actually kind of like the vibe of that better, so we're just going to keep it like that.
Yeah,
There we go.
yeah. I also have a webcam too. So,
Yeah, so Mallory
one
does have
shot on
one
me.
shot.
Then I got
We're
one
testing
shot.
everything out live
We're
right
testing
now.
everything out live right now, which is fantastic.
Yes.
But yeah, we are doing some reconstruction. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
In the DCTF offices as well. So we are gonna be doing this until, I guess tomorrow is our last show.
Yeah.
TFT, I guess I should say, until we are off for about a month.
roughly so, yeah. We'll see if anything breaks. We'll maybe do a recorded episode, things like that. But as far as a live in studio show, yeah, this will probably be it. And maybe one more. I don't know. Maybe not here, it's the same place. Who knows? Regardless.
No, we can absolutely say where we're going to be in the next.
You want
I would love to. So here in the next couple weeks, we're still, don't worry, we're not going to go away, we're still doing ROF. It's just going to be live from the Bachelorette Pad in Texas, baby. Ashley and I's house. We're going to be taking the entire setup home, and we're going to be doing Texas Football Tonight, or Texas Football Today, every single day, of course. And then on Wednesdays, we're going to be doing Republic of Football. You guys are going to come up to Denton, and we're going to have a party. And then on Thursdays, we're still going to do Women Talking Football, of course, because that's just get off our backs and live together.
It's going to be Blackstone Wednesdays. We're going to be Blackstone Grill after ROF.
Yeah, it's just going to miss a couple days. So that's
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Austin because that's the week of basketball state tournament.
Yeah.
So
understandably, I get that.
So I'm gonna be down there. Basically, that whole probably those at least from the girls to the boys that week. Because the girls are coming next weekend and the boys will be the weekend after, and it would make sense for me to come up to DFW just to go down. So I'll be staying at home, my family's place in Austin during that week. But outside of that, we'll see.
We get it. You still want to make the effort to come up to the Bachelorette Pad.
Yes, no, that's 100%.
You know what?
6 hours round trip. I see. I see how it is.
Exactly.
And we're going to clean. We're going to deep clean for y'all and everything.
That's fine.
Maybe.
Y'all can do whatever y'all want. Y'all's place. We only did it for an hour or so it's fine.
Not if you come early and have lunch.
That's fair. Anyway, regardless, do what you want with your place.
We're still gonna do shows. That's the important part.
Yeah, and because this will be our last kind of this setup style of show. We're not going to do anything crazy. There's been some news.
We'll talk about Steve Sarkisian's contract extension. We'll talk about the college football playoff expansion that dropped yesterday. We'll talk about a pretty key transfer for Memphis that came down yesterday. And then we'll talk a little bit about the NFL Combine, which starts on Monday, and all the Texas players in that, and kind of have our picks for who we expect or kind of anticipate or hope for to have a big combine to maybe up their draft stock as the draft rolls around the next couple months. So I was trying to transition, but I did not make
Didn't work very well.
All right. Anyway, Steve Sarkisian. He signed an extension. We knew it was coming down. It became obvious that once they made the playoff, or really once they won the Big 12, it was like, okay, they're probably working towards an extension. News came out shortly after the playoff that they were going to get an extension going. And I believe February 16th, I believe is when it came down, or is when we got the numbers for the actual figures for it.
The numbers are in.
Yeah. Craven put out a piece talking about the actual extension, and he becomes the third most highest paid head coach in college football. Of course, with Nick Saban gone, that became Kirby Smart last year, or I guess now. And then who was the other one? Was it Dabo? I'm blanking right now.
I know they're all represented by Jimmy Sexton.
Yes, they are Jimmy Sexton clients. Yes, that is all. They're all Jimmy Sexton clients. But point is, he is now third. He would have been. He took it under probably below. I don't want to say below market value because he was a coordinator stepping up to be a head coach. So like typically those guys aren't the most high paid head coaches. Like it's the guys like. I'm trying to think of an equivalent. It's the guys that usually take a head coaching job from a head coaching job. They usually get like the big paydays. He wasn't one of them, so he took a coordinator, and he would have entered the SEC basically as like the
13th.
13th highest paid head coach, because a lot of guys were either head coaches somewhere else, like Billy Napier, who went from Louisiana to Florida, so he had to get a pretty big bump, or somebody like a Shane Beamer, who was a head coach and then got an extension on top of that, already got their extension. So he would have been around, I believe, like Jeff Levy around there, like around that, if he didn't sign this extension. It's, you can talk about the Jimbo Fisher thing, about like, oh, after your first year, you signed the extension, even though nobody was coming for you.
Well, we talked about that graphic of the first 3 years with Jimbo and Steve Sarkisian. It's dropping like wildfire on X.com right now.
A&M fans are loving the fact that he signed an extension. Look, he made the playoff. He won the Big 12. Sure, yes, the slate kind of starts clean here, going into the SEC, because obviously it's harder to do that. It will be harder to do that. But, like, this isn't a one-to-one comparison, in my opinion.
No.
Did y'all watch Texas football today a couple of nights ago? I think it was on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tupper brought up the contract extension, and he kind of had like an interesting take on it. And I want to see kind of what you guys think on it. Ashley and I talked about it too.
It is Dabo, by the way.
Okay.
It's Kirby Smart and Dabo.
Okay. Do you think this contract extension also maybe was for in hopes of getting him to stay in case a job like Ohio State were to open up? That's what Tepper pointed out. I think now, obviously, the two jobs are now kind of the same caliber. I think before, obviously, the Ohio State job would have been more attractive in the Big 10 and everything rather than the Big 12. But now that Texas is joining the SEC, I think that may be more of a lateral move for him. But it was an interesting point that Tepper brought up.
Well, this extension that he got, granted, they were going to do an extension probably no matter what because he made the playoff, but it kind of happened because Nick Saban retired.
I would have loved to have seen the numbers on this if Nick Saban hadn't retired.
Right.
Because when I brought up Jimmy Sexton earlier, he represents 12 of 16 SEC coaches. He represents Nick Saban, who retires. Well, who are the coaches that could possibly replace Nick Saban? Well, it's Mike Norvell, who then signs the 8-year, $10 million a year deal. Guess who's his agent? Jimmy Sexton. Lane Kiffin was also floated in there. He locked in a contract extension in December. Guess who represents him? Jimmy Sexton. What about Dabo Sweeney? Steve Sarkisian, he gets a new extension. Kalen DeBoer, he's also Jimmy Sexton's client. He ends up signing with Alabama. So Sark's deal and how lucrative it is, now being the third highest paid head coach, probably has something to do with the fact that Jimmy Sexton has all of the chess pieces on the board.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you look at the guys like I mean, we can talk. Split Zone did a good discussion about this a couple weeks back when people talked about like the Jeff Hafley thing, like leaving to the whatever, like leaving the NFL and like the King Womack leaving South Alabama to be the defensive coordinator at Alabama, and like is college football the same? Right? We had that whole like discussion going on for a while. I think Split Zone had a good discussion about like when you look at who broke the Nick Saban story, Chris Lau, right? He doesn't typically break stories like that. But who's he know? He knows Jimmy Sexton, right? Mm-hmm. And you mentioned like Jimmy Sexton. I mean, we can talk about Pete Thamel as well. He's very known to have Asian connections. That's how he gets a lot of these things first. Shams and Woj in the NBA the same way. They don't get them from the coaches, right? They don't get them from the players. Not all the time. Sometimes they do. But a lot of times you'll see Shams tweet out the NBA like, here's this free agent extension. He's agreed to the Raptors. Sources from Clutch Sports tell Sean. It's very connected. And like you mentioned, Jimmy Sexton is that right now. He knows who to feed the info to because he knows who's going to get it out because he knows who's going to probably frame it a certain way as well, maybe. And who can maneuver the chess pieces to then get his other guys promotions or extensions or better money on top of their extensions they were getting. So, yeah, I agree. Like, Jimmy Sexton is kind of the most powerful man, if not one of the top 5 most powerful men in college football right now.
He's the kingmaker. He's the kingmaker behind the scenes. So to answer your question, Mallory, yes. Because now if Steve Sarkisian is the top 3 highest paid coach, that's locked in now for 10 years probably. You're not re-upping on that when the market eventually resets by Jimmy Sexton's hands.
And here's the thing, right? If, let's say, like, I do think Steve Sarkisian isn't going anywhere for another job unless Texas cuts ties. The only way that even happens now is if they give him what would be another kingmaker type of moment, which is if they give him a Jimbo type contract. Right. If the only way he would leave from Ohio State, or if Kalen DeBoer doesn't work out at Alabama, is now for the 10 years, $80 million, fully guaranteed, like thing that Jimbo signed that got him from Florida State to Indiana, right? And so it's like now he's set up to where he doesn't have to leave. I don't think he will leave. But now it's like if he does leave, okay, cool. Now give me the most historic contract you've ever seen.
I would see leaving for the NFL is almost a bigger possibility with Sark than leaving for another college job.
Maybe because he did already. He was with the Falcons after, I think it was before he went to Bama. He was with the Falcons for a bit. And I don't disagree. I think eventually maybe. But I do think the way the Falcons, that job played out, he actually did pretty well if you look back at the context of that season. They were coming off of the Super Bowl, I believe. Kyle Shanahan gets hired away. He comes in to kind of, try to do something. And they look pretty okay, especially when you consider where the Falcons have gone since. That year is like, they look back and they're probably like, actually, we probably gave him some slack because he was following up Kyle Shanahan. So I do think that would be the next move. I don't think that's something that they have to worry about for, I don't think for a good number of years. I think he's finally become who he thought he could be in college football, and now he has still more to strive for. If they get a couple national titles, sure, yeah, maybe there's the next challenge, but.
Well, it's a really tough day for the my job as a college football head coach is too hard crowd because I know Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State just had something about this today, but it's got to be extra tough to complain, rightfully so, about a coaching calendar and how screwed up it is when your contract incentives get leaked and it's 20 hours of private jet use, 2 new cars, and a country club membership.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like you mentioned Kenny Dillingham, this kind of relates to everything, I think he's had the best response to that, right? Like because somebody, of course, people want to talk about the Jeff Hafley thing, and this is where I kind of get on the Pete Thamel thing, where it's like the follow-up tweet to Jeff Hafley taking the defensive coordinator job with the Packers was the tweet from Pete Thamel that was about, he believes the thing isn't too hard, and I was like, the guy was getting fired this year. like we know why he took the job. It's okay to buy your own plane ticket out of town. And he was getting proactive with it. Same with Georgia State. Sean Elliott, who took I believe the tight ends coach job at Alabama or South Carolina. Again, he was on the hot seat this year. It's okay to buy your own ticket. That's what I think maybe the transfer portal and NIL speeding up is people buying their own ticket out of town. But on the Kenny Dillingham thing, he mentioned it. He said straight up, he's not a fan of the it's too hard right now, right? He's not a fan of that narrative being peddled because this is being a coach is hard. Being a coach in general, college coaching has never been easy, right? It's always been the day after, like there was always stories about Nick Saban, the day after he won a national title, he's on the phone with recruits. That was like,
or Urban Meyer during the confetti falling, he's on the phone with recruits.
Like that was 10 years ago. So it's like, is it harder? Sure, yeah, it's obviously harder. But if you are a ball coach, and like I do genuinely think that there are some guys like a Chip Kelly who does not like to recruit. He just wants to coach ball. And so he goes to Ohio State to where they're probably going to send him on like 2 recruiting visits, and he's going to coach ball. Right, Ryan Day will recruit. These other guys, Brian Hartline will recruit the receivers coach, and then Chip Kelly just gets to coach ball instead of like, is Dante Moore leaving? I don't know. I don't care. Why you got to talk to this kid now? Like Chip Kelly seems like the most miserable guy to recruit, but he knows offense, and so it's like you want somebody like that somewhere around your program.
Coaching is very hard. What do you think job has a worse work-life balance? College football coach or president of the United States?
Honestly, trying to worst work-life balance?
President's got a lot of vacation.
That's what I was about to say. Worst is definitely college football.
I think so.
I think so too, honestly.
Like, how many aides does the president have? Like, I can just be like,
so many.
Oh my god, I get an intern for that.
Like, I'm gonna dip for 2 weeks. I'm gonna go outside the country.
Right.
Like, you'll handle it.
I'm gonna go on a diplomatic visit to wherever. Like,
yeah,
like,
right.
Yeah, come on now. That's easy. Or you can just, if you really just want to be nothing, you just roll over what the last guy did into your term and just be like, oh yeah, I was all fine. You probably won't get elected again. But yeah, no, it's always been hard, right? That's my thing. It's like things aren't changing now. They've always been hard. So, yeah. So that's Steve Sarkisian. Like I said, that was kind of a big thing that dropped. The other big thing that dropped was the college football playoff expansion. It officially came down yesterday, and we have the 5+7 model, which is the 4 conference champions and then the highest ranking G5 conference champion, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So of course the college football playoff is expanding to 12. People were I think they originally thought they would get the 6 and 6.
They thought it was 6 and 6 because there'd still be a Power 5 when they first brokered it.
Right. So of course the Pac-2 is now, which is still a thing.
So is the automatic Pac-2 conference champion gonna get in the playoff now between Oregon State and Washington State?
We'll see. Well, see, here's the thing. They're weirdly playing a Mountain West schedule, but they're not in the Mountain West because they just hired a Pac-2 commissioner yesterday after firing George Kliavkoff, which I don't know, I thought he was doing a pretty good job in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see what happened under his watch that was bad.
He held a conference of 2 together through tough times. I don't see what the issue is. But the point is, they approved the 5+7. So, I mean, that got people guessing about like how things would be divvied up. Obviously, the Power 4 will get their things, but it started to make clear, like, okay, here's the avenue for the Group of 5 and kind of the other, I guess, like what you would call like the Ole Misses, right? The other contenders that are just outside of the top echelon.
Here's my question, though.
Yeah.
So the first 4 conference champions, the top 4 seeds, get a bye. The 5th conference champion, which is obviously the G5 team, is going to play the 12th seed to start off.
Yes.
Wouldn't you want to be a 12th seed? Because that means Penn State is going to be playing the G5 champion, and we saw how Oregon versus Liberty went this last year.
I mean, here's the thing. Would you want to be, or do you?
Because then you play the 1 seed probably right after that.
Sure, but also like, I don't think you. Yes, if you're in Oregon, sure. I also don't think if you want to be the team that loses for the first time. You know, let's the G5 champion.
Yeah, but how is that going to happen? You would have to play bad to lose that game.
I'm saying, like, Oregon.
You got to bet on yourself, Ish. You got to bet on yourself.
Well, here's the thing. That's implying a team like Oregon would get the 12. I don't think a team like Oregon would get the 12. Team like Penn State? Which are definitely is the gettable team.
Penn State is going to be in the college football playoff every year now because there's going to be 4 Big Ten teams in.
Yeah.
And the Penn State college football playoff game is going to be like the mid-2010s where the Houston Texans would play the Saturday afternoon playoff game every year with Matt Schaub.
Or the Atlanta Hawks NBA TV first round.
Yes, that's going to be Penn State every single year.
Yes.
They're going to be 9-2, 10-2.
Yes.
And get smoked.
Yes, 100%. I think so. Here's the final rankings. Let me see. In this context, yes, Liberty at 23 would have been the 5th, right? In this scenario, you're looking at potentially either Oklahoma, Mississippi, Ole Miss, or Penn State as the 12. Ooh, Liberty is. I think Ole Miss probably blows them out. Penn State and Oklahoma, I'm not so sure. So I don't
It
think
could be interesting.
So like that's where it gets interesting, right? Yes, the Oregons and all that they will get in via other ways, and they'll play like Oregon, Missouri would be the matchup, things like that. But the teams that would be into that 12 slot aren't the teams that would be rolling over Liberty.
Let's talk about how this is going to be broken down. Let's go by Craven's tweet I saw.
Yes.
I think it's going to be 4 Big Ten teams, 4 SEC teams. Then 2 ACC, 1 Big 12 team, or 2 Big 12 teams, 1 ACC team, depending on the year.
Sure.
And then 1 G5 champion, which means, Mallory, that Rutgers' path to the playoff is there.
Dude.
Gotta be in the top 4 of the
Tell
Big
me my
Ten.
hopes up like that. Tell me my
There's a path.
There is an absolute path for that, and I like that.
Look,
I enjoy that.
well, here's the other thing too. Is like now there is a clear path for
Rutgers.
yes, but also
Iowa football.
I mean, not wrong either.
Would Iowa have made it last year?
Hold on, let me double check. Iowa was 17th, so no, they would not.
No, they wouldn't have.
But that's still not. That's an average offense of getting in. If they get an average offense, they're in the playoff.
Let's
But anyway,
go.
but no, I'm saying we mentioned Liberty, but also that's how close SMU was to getting in, right? SMU, like the only
I
reason
know.
they didn't get into the New Year's Six is because they were one spot, 23rd and 24th was SMU, right?
Dang.
And so when you look at somebody like they're in the power conference now, so they would get in regardless. But let's say a UTSA, right? If you're Jeff Traylor, all of a sudden that makes the leap to the sure. I think the SEC and all that's one thing, but like if you're Jeff Traylor and you're looking at, let's say, the Houston job, where's the easier path?
Because the American Athletic Conference is probably going to be the conference that gets their champion in every year
Sure.
for the most part,
Like,
unless there's an
yeah.
insane Sun Belt team.
I was about to say, well, Liberty's Conference USA, and they went unbeaten, right? So that's what got them in. They went unbeaten. SMU was 11-2 from the AAC and almost got in to the New Year's Six.
And a lot of people thought they should have got in over
right.
the undefeated.
Right, and I think they should have got in based on schedule. But that's the point. It's like, yeah, your path is going to be easier in the AAC than it is to the Conference USA, Sun Belt, all that stuff. So if you're a Jeff Traylor or a John Summerall who took the Tulane job now, right? Obviously, like you'll be paid a little bit more, but like UTSA, you're not going to be paid like if he went to Alabama. Sure, yes, that's different. But like Houston's not going to blow Jeff Traylor out of the water with a contract offer, right? They're not going to double his salary, right? All of a sudden, does it make it more intriguing to stay at a UNT, a UTSA, than to go to not the upper echelon, but maybe like the Vanderbilts, right? Where you're not going to get paid the Saban money, the Kirby Smart money, but it is theoretically a power job. Right?
Yeah,
is it worth to make that kind of a jump?
Because you're kind of in purgatory then too,
Sure.
because you're in the Big 12 that has 16 teams and
Yeah.
they're not a Power 2 conference. Look,
Right.
there is a Power 2 now.
I was about to say-
it's the Big 10 and SEC, and they're pushing for multiple automatic qualifiers. They're already going to have 8 between the two of them. So there is 1 to 2 spots in a 16-team conference in the Big 12 for a Big 12 team.
Oh, 100%. I think that, I'm trying to find who, somebody I followed from Arkansas State Radio, I'm forgetting her name now, I apologize. She put out a good tweet saying the power nexus and the interesting discussions aren't going to happen with the haves and the have-nots. It's the haves and the have-mores, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that with Chip Kelly. And Power 4 head coach just went to say, yeah, I'm going to be a coordinator. In conference, in the same conference that he was already in. He was like, yeah, that's fine. It was like, Ohio State has more money, Ohio State has more resources, they're going to allow me to do what I want to do, and I'm going to have a better shot at maybe, if I do want to be a head coach again, probably a better shot at a better job than UCLA if I do want to Ohio State.
What do you think? I'm sorry, I've been working with audio stuff, so I don't know. If you guys, but what do you guys think that SMU feels like right now? Do you think that them moving to the ACC, do you think that hurts their chances or enhances their chances of
For the
getting the playoffs?
For the time being, they needed to.
Yeah.
For the time being. Like, that was a move that needed to happen because of the fact that, I mean, what they saw. They had a great year in the AAC and they didn't get in really anywhere.
Right.
They had to go to the Pinstripe Bowl. Whatever the future of the ACC is, and it literally is all going to depend on if the ACC is willing to negotiate a buyout with Florida State, which is apparently a thing that's possibly going down now. And Andy Staples put out that kind of possibility. then obviously there comes a discussion. But I think they are firmly okay with being in the we'll wait to see what happens kind of thing because they just needed a seat at the table.
Well, we need a seat at the table where we can catch strays from Florida State every time new litigation comes out.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Florida State's like in their paperwork's like, look, they let SMU in. SMU's like, what did we do? They're like, look, this conference isn't up to standard. Look who they're letting in. It's like we've won like double-digit games like 3 years. What's happening? Yeah.
But doesn't it feel like SMU now in the ACC has a modicum more chance to get into the college football playoff than if they just stayed in the American Athletic Conference?
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they're not winning the conference next year.
No.
But yeah, sure. If they let's say they have the ACC has 8 years, right? Don't think it. We'll see exactly what conference realignment.
Right.
Let's just say on paper they have 8 years. SMU can get up to snuff. I think 1 or 2.
But the ACC is basically like you have to win your conference to get in the
Sure, no, but I'm saying though, I'm not saying.
And that's what the American is now too, for the most part, except for some
Here's the thing. If the ACC was, I don't think that's true. I think Clemson being down hurt the ACC this year.
Okay.
If Clemson was better, let's say Clemson and Florida State were both unbeaten or had 1 loss, I think there's a bigger discussion on an at-large potentially. I don't think this year. I think this year the SEC and the Big Ten were just that much better. But if there's a 1-loss Florida State or a 1-loss Clemson, I do think that discussion happens. If they meet in the title game and then one of them loses, one of them, I do think it becomes a better discussion to where the ACC maybe can get 1 or 2 slots as opposed to just. I think this year was a bad year for the ACC, and Clemson being down quote unquote with 9 wins hurt them a lot. That's my opinion.
It feels like of the conferences right now, like Big Ten and SEC are like the top 2 fraternities that are super concerned with their status and how much power they have. While the Big 12 is like the 4th fraternity that just has a great time. Like, hey, we're in Vegas, by the way.
I was about to say, we got a thing in Vegas.
We'll get 1 person in the college football playoff, but like we're gonna have a hell of a time.
We're gonna the Undertaker handing Quinn Ewers' title. The Big 12 is just like a party right now, and it's kind of like a. What's the Prince song? Party Like It's 1999, where like the world's ending around you, but you don't care. And it's just like, let's just keep going. We got Dion in the conference now. We got Utah. Let's bring in Arizona. Why not? Let's just do that. So I again, Big 12 is all vibes right now, which I kind of enjoy. But yeah, like let me just read off some of the names in the ACC. If all these teams were clicking at the same time, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Virginia Tech. I'll throw Louisville in. They're doing good right now. So I'll throw Louisville. They were ranked last year. They finished.
Kind of a basketball school though.
It is, but they finished ranked. So let's say you
played them an ACC championship.
I know, but like in terms of school, Miami's a historically great football program. That's like, if that's the U, baby.
What I'm saying is, if all those schools have double-digit wins, and let's say one of them has a great non-conference game that they win, right? Let's say Florida State beats like an Oregon or something, right? These things fluctuate so much. I don't think that they wouldn't be leaving out or shutting out in the discussion Florida State, Miami, and Clemson right off the bat. It's like, you're in the ACC. It's like, no, Clemson's they were a national title team a couple years ago. Miami, you mentioned that. We've been waiting for them to get back. So I do think this year happened to be a bad year for everybody, and then other conferences happen to be really deep, like the SEC, really deep, like the Big 12, as Texas was leaving, and Oklahoma were leaving. So things like that. It's a year-to-year thing. I think for the time being, SMU is in a good spot. We'll see what happens with that again, because like I mentioned, Florida State seems to be trying to bolt in some way. So we'll see what happens, because I think Clemson may be something trying to happen there soon after.
I like the CFB expansion, if not only because we're going to have less opt-outs now. I mean, we were at a point where the Sugar Bowl had all backups in. This is the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, Ohio State,
we're talking about.
Ohio State did not care about the Sugar Bowl.
We had Joe Milton, who's going to be an undrafted free agent, opting out of the Citrus Bowl for his NFL draft stock. What are we doing here?
No, 100%. It does give more incentive. And honestly, it may trickle down to where the other bowls that are not playoff games ought to find some more incentive to try to keep them. Because it's like they see players opting into meaningful, incentivized games. Or staying, not opting in, but staying. And so it may motivate other bowl games to be like, okay, well, how do we keep, we're not a playoff bowl, but like, how do we keep players playing these games?
And it'll be not as well-established brands that maybe financial incentive would go a long way.
Sure.
Because maybe a financial incentive doesn't help as much at Ohio State where they're all getting big.
Well, look, here's the thing, right? We all can make fun of Pop-Tarts Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl and all that. there's a reason why they were able to throw that kind of stuff, because they have money.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? They can throw out some more incentive bags to be like, by the way, here's our mascot Pop-Tart. By the way, here's the whatever incentive prize it is, right? Don't know. But the point is they had money to throw at this game in very random and viral ways. But it's like, maybe that is something for the future to kind of watch. And we'll kind of hope that that's a trickle-down effect of the playoff expansion. All right. One bit of player news that kind of came down literally last night. Speaking of SMU, actually, Marcus Bryant from SMU has entered the transfer portal. Of course, he hasn't officially entered because he can't officially do that until after spring, but he can declare his intention to enter before that. So, all AAC tackle, right? I believe 4 years there. How many?
29 games, I believe.
29 games as a starter, and allowing just 1 sack this past year.
He's also 6'8".
He's also 6'8", so it's not hard to see that somebody probably was like, "Hey, want to come play for X? Like, want to get paid a little bit more, because let's not act like SMU is a program that doesn't have NIL money." But somebody was like, "Hey, you're probably, I don't know, I'm just throwing out." He's like, "We can work you into a day 2 draft pick." Something like, I'm not saying he's going to, but like, you could see the 6'8" factor, you could see experienced linemen, you could see somebody, the fact that linemen are not available in the portal, you could see a team that maybe would need something like that, like I'm just going to throw out, a Colorado, right? This is not me reporting anything, but I'm just saying, like, bad offensive line, they need bodies, they have money to throw around, I'm just throwing out a name. But like, that was the thing, you're not finding offensive linemen in the portal.
This goes back to Mallory's question about, does SMU feel good still about going to the ACC? You're in a Power 4 conference now, and this wasn't supposed to be happening.
So the one thing I will say is that the argument I think that would justify it is that this will be happening more. Because let's not forget, Quinshon Judkins left Ole Miss for Ohio State.
But he kind of got forced out a little bit.
Maybe, but like, he would have been...
Not for playing reasons, it was kind of a culture thing.
Sure. But like, he would have been the starting running back next year at Ole Miss.
True.
Right? We can look at something like the fact that Arizona was able to hold on to Noah Fafita, the quarterback that people just thought was going to Washington, right? Mm-hmm. It's an endless battle is kind of what I'm getting at. But the Marcus Bryants, in my opinion, if they were still in the AAC, would probably turn into the Preston Stones, maybe turn into the RJ Marylands, right?
Yeah.
I think they'd be having more of an issue than they would be now. I think Marcus, I don't think this is a sign of things to come. I think this is just welcome to being a have and not a have more.
Yeah, in the middle ground, for sure. It does hurt that SMU's offensive line last year gave up 16 sacks in 14 games. Now they're taking a step up in league play, and 3 of those guys are gone. 3 of the starters. Hiron White, I think, just ran out of eligibility. Branson Hickman was the first one who was a multi-year starter, and you saw that and said, maybe they feel like they have an upgrade there. Sure. This one, Marcus Bryant, that doesn't feel like there's a clear upgrade. He got pushed out in any way. Right.
No, they're definitely, he was a guy who was a 3-star recruit, kind of an underrated guy. I think it was only SMU and I think UIW, I think it was only offers out of high school. And so like, it was definitely somebody that they developed themselves and they kind of invested in, and they kind of saw through and was like, oh, this guy's just a pillar of our offensive line this year. So yeah, it's good. I mean, that's going to suck, right? That was one thing that, me, you, and Craven had discussions and kind of arguments about, like, would SMU beat TCU at the end of the year, right? Because we thought that was a different team. And when you go back, me and you both believe that we would take them at the end of the year. SMU would have taken them over TCU. But the argument that is a good one was that the trenches when they played were not up to snuff at the time, right? Mm-hmm. And like you mentioned, now I think SMU is better than they were in September. Okay, but their offensive line got worse. So how much worse are they, against a team that has more Power 5 talent all the way around?
Let me get out in front of this. I said in the State of the Union ROF that SMU would beat TCU next year, and now after this transfer news comes out, I'm walking that back. So no one clip that and throw it in my face. I'm officially retracting.
That's what we do here, right? We hold each other accountable.
I just don't want to hear that clip, like, look at this idiot.
You said this after Marcus Bryant left. It's like, no, we didn't.
There's context for every quote that's out there.
But yeah, so I mean, that'll be a big one. Like I mentioned, if you are a good offensive lineman in the portal, you've been picked up already. Now it's Marcus Bryant. So SMU is not like SMU is going to go in and be like, we'll just go get X, right? It's like, not really.
Does it feel like the timing's weird, though, that it happened this late in the game?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
I feel like it I don't know. I just feel like something like this should have happened earlier.
Well, I think signing day helped.
Yeah.
The fact that signing day is over. So we have no idea who's connected to him, who's looking into him. But it's like, okay, we didn't get this guy, we didn't get this guy. Okay, we got to find plan C now, right? You'll see him happen. Obviously, we'll see him happen after spring when everybody's depth charts get settled and they realize, oh, I'm not going to start here. Let me get out of here. But I think there's a reason why this individually is one that came out, right? There's only been like a handful since signing day, and I think it's because people realize they missed out on some targets. Okay, cool. Now we got to start, essentially tampering, essentially openly tampering.
There's so many whispers out there right now. There's never been more whispers in college football.
Never been more whispers. Never been more. Who's this number coach that's calling me, and things like that. So. Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that because SMU all of a sudden has a pretty big hole in its offensive line. Figuratively and literally, he's a giant dude. All right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, let's get to our last discussion point. We got the NFL Combine coming up.
Let's go.
And I'm very pumped for this.
I love the
Do
Combine.
y'all actually watch the NFL Combine?
It is the best hungover on the couch watching ever. To just the golf voices from Rich Eisen as guys are running around in spandex. It's just great.
I'll keep it. It is one of the things that like I will keep on if I'm doing something. Yeah. And then I'll look up and be like, oh, little Jordan Humphrey. A couple years
great
ago.
napping.
Like, it really is.
Oh, little Jordan Humphrey ran a 4.9.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
It's like, oh, he's a lot slower than I thought, It's not something that I watch intently, but it's something that I will have on. Because I have very, very whacked out ADHD, and so like I will be playing a video game and then have something on, and then that way I can just be like, oh, hey, look, it's on, like something's on, and I'll like look up and see something. So I have to have like noise kind of around me if I'm cooking or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll have something on.
That's gonna be that thing.
This is perfect for that.
Do you watch the Combine?
It depends. Yeah, if there's like if there's like a Michigan State player, then I will turn it on and kind of see how he does. But here and there.
Are there any this year?
If it fits I don't know actually. I have not looked at the.
I didn't.
I looked at like the Texas players.
I didn't include the Michigan State prospects.
Not this year. Not this year. Would not be
Combine list.
No, hey, next year.
So there you go. Next year. All right. So the topic I wanted to have was give me a couple players, one or two, that you think players from Texas that will have either could benefit from a good combine or actually just let's keep it optimistic. Could benefit from a really good combine showing. In a lot of mock drafts, I'll just say this, in a lot of mock drafts that I'm seeing recently, the two Texas guys that I'm seeing that coincidentally are University of Texas guys as well. Byron Murphy seems to be the number one player from Texas schools, whether it's 10,
He's
15.
Been rising.
He has
so
been rising.
Much.
The other one that's kind of fringe first round has been A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah.
He's been very much on him and Worthy seem to be both going second round right now, but Mitchell's been the guy that's been punching into the first round, either late first or early second.
I had Xavier Worthy. I think that he could probably benefit the most maybe from this draft. I think that he's definitely one of the most skilled and quickest players out of the state of Texas, but with size concerns and stuff like you mentioned in your piece, if he does really show out, do you think that size does really come into play here, or can he go first round?
He would have to go in the 40, like low 4.3. I feel, which he could.
Yeah, he's quick.
That is the thing. Where it's like we know the type of receiver that Worthy is, and it's about how good of that type of receiver, right? Because if it's like if all of a sudden you see him running that route, that low 4.3s or something. All of a sudden you start seeing, I'm not saying he's going to be this player, but like you can see teams look at him and go, we can mold him into X, right? We can mold him into the Tyreek Hill-ish type, right? The Jalen Waddle type, right? Where it's just like, just move him all over the place and just like, his route tree's not impressive, but when he gets in his routes and his cut, he's the best, right? Yeah. So I could see him definitely benefiting.
Because I think A.D. Mitchell almost has more to benefit than Xavier Worthy, because A.D. Mitchell, if he all of a sudden runs 4.4, it's like, okay, you take that with the route running capabilities.
Right.
You almost know what Xavier Worthy is, like you're saying.
Sure.
So he's just trying to prove that he is what he is.
Sure. I think A.D. Mitchell is one of mine, because it doesn't shock me that he's getting more love from NFL, or supposedly more love from NFL scouts right now in mock drafts, because we saw him make a lot of the insane catches. His hand catching up, the way he attacks the ball is very good.
His radius is crazy.
His radius is insane, and then his route running, like you mentioned, the thing with Worthy that I think, again, he could these guys do shuttle drills and all that too, so he could flash something that he maybe wasn't able to at Texas, or kind of prove some people, skeptics, wrong on that. But we kind of saw what he was route running wise, right? There's a reason why people were disappointed with when him and Quinn couldn't connect on the deep ball, is because Worthy was good at the deep ball, and it's like there's not really another way to use him.
I think the biggest thing Worthy has to prove is he can make one-on-one him versus defender catches in traffic.
Sure, and that's what A.D. Mitchell can do.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what we know A.D. Mitchell can do, but Worthy can't show that in the combine.
Yeah.
It's going to be routes on air.
That's fair. So I partially agree that I have Mitchell down. I also have, this one's an obvious one, but I had Byron Murphy just because I do think he can work his way even higher. He right now, I believe I've seen him in the 10 to 15 range. I do think it doesn't shock me that he's getting more love than T'Vondre Sweat right now, because he feels like the kind of prototypical, like, Aaron Donald-ish.
He's actually an Aaron Donald plug.
Yes. Like he's a little undersized for what you would expect for that, but he's so athletically gifted. And I think that because T'Vondre Sweat was so impactful, people, I don't say minimize, he got a lot of accolades too, but I don't think people realize quite how good Byron Murphy was next to him.
Byron Murphy was kind of like the trendy, T'Vondre Sweat everyone talks about, but you know who's actually really good is Byron Murphy, and then now we've almost overcorrected.
Sure.
To where the farther we get away from the actual game tape, it's like no one talks about T'Vondre Sweat anymore, and everyone's only talking about Byron Murphy.
Right, who also, Sweat, by the way, also getting invited to the Combine, so I'm interested to see that. I'm very interested to see it. Our teams turned off maybe by his size a little bit, like how they were with, who was it a couple years ago? Jordan Davis from Georgia, where it was like, here's this big physical defensive tackle, but can you play him every down? There was like all these concerns about that. Regardless, he was still the best tackle in the draft that year, but he went, I think, late first round because it was like, I don't know. So I don't know, does Byron Murphy, he's getting mocked to the second round. I think if you looked at just his his resume on field, there's no reason why he shouldn't be in the first round discussion, but it kind of goes back to that whole, like, okay, is he bullying college players? Can he do the same at the next level? Is his style translatable in that way? Again, you'll start to hear, we start to hear about all these kind of things with the NFL coming up, right? It's like, can he do this in college? Can he do this? We've seen it from high school to college, right? Can he do this at the next level? And so I always love that kind of discussion that comes out towards, like, here's this really good player, but here's why this actually won't translate, or here's why this will translate better than where he is now. So I don't know. I'm always fascinated by those kind of conversations, because some of them can get really ridiculous, and some of them can make some sense.
Who do you think is going to bench more, T'Vondre Sweat or Byron Murphy?
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
I think Murphy.
T'Vondre Sweat's arms are longer, I think.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think they are.
Murphy's more compact.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot versus a lot.
He's going to trampoline chest so hard on that bench press.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, so somebody else I'm very interested in seeing is, we saw him at the Senior Bowl, not the Shrine Bowl. No, sorry. He was supposed to be at the Shrine Bowl. He didn't go. He was at the Senior Bowl. It was Luke McCaffrey.
Oh, yeah.
I had Luke McCaffrey written down. Oh, wow. Nice. We are so in sync right now.
I am very fascinated to see how he does. Like, genuinely. Here's a guy who, we can talk about it, came into college as a quarterback, basically only 2 years of tape as a wide receiver. He was really good. The frame's a little, I could see them say much to be desired there, but athletically,
he's kind of a gamer.
He's kind of a gamer, man. He can, like, there is a plug and play. There is an ideal, like, plug and play. I'm not saying day one, but, like, eventually he can be somebody who's like, oh yeah, that guy that's always been kicking butt in preseason and, like, has been our fourth receiver a couple years now, Luke McCaffrey. All of a sudden he's a number 3 somewhere.
Luke McCaffrey's just 1 year too late, man. If Bill Belichick didn't retire from the Patriots,
oh man, he's right there.
Luke McCaffrey would have been right there.
He's right there.
There's 9 wide receivers on the Athletics top 40 big board, consensus board right now. So it's a crowded wide receiver room.
It is.
Yeah.
The 40 times is going to be huge for McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's got to run the 40, and I think the question marks with him are the top end speed, because he is a quarterback by trade.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the family, they've got some speed in that family, so I'd be really interested to see what he runs.
ESPN had him at least coming out of high school. This is coming out of high school, so 2019, 4.6 40. So again, not that again, we've seen worse.
Which is crazy how fast 4.6 is. We're like, nah.
Yeah, I was about to say, right.
4.6.
When you're as a quarterback, that's intriguing, right? As a quarterback, you're like, hey, that's something. As a wide receiver, So again, he may have gotten faster since then. Probably has. That's typically how these things work.
Yeah.
But how much faster is a good question.
I ran a 4.8 one time with a monsoon wind at my back propelling me. Immediately put that on the huddle and everywhere. Yep, 4.8.
We should definitely try that.
Absolutely not. I'm not.
Why?
I haven't ran the 40 since I was like in middle school, and I don't need to be humbled. Because I would assume that I run faster now, but I'm also like, do I run faster now?
You're surprised because if you don't use those fast twitch muscles as much, you kind of lose them.
I don't want to be humbled that much.
Do y'all remember like punt, pass, and kick in elementary school?
Mm-hmm.
Where we had to, we had to do a running portion too. So we had to do like a sprint and a long distance portion too.
Absolutely not.
And
Punt absolutely wrecked
I was
me.
pretty fast. Yeah. But punting wasn't bad for me. It was kicking. I was not good at
You
kicking.
remember when you were in elementary school and to get the most girlfriends, you just had to be the fastest?
Yes. Yeah. You were afraid when a kid ran faster than you that your girl was just gonna go right.
I lost so many girlfriends in 2nd grade by getting outrun.
I can confirm that I was one of those girls.
running from the classroom to the swing set. You were first.
Exactly.
It used to be so simple.
A couple more names to watch out for. One that go check out my interview with Ryan Watts and Taj Washington on YouTube right now. I talked to him at the Shrine Bowl. Ryan Watts.
I had him too. I had Ryan Watts.
Here's the thing. He's straight up said, so I asked him about the combine. I was like, hey, what are you doing for the combine? What do you plan to do? He said, his words, that he thinks he can get low 4.4.
Which, if you do that, young man, you're a first-round draft pick because he is 6'3", 200 pounds. He is yoked.
The thing about Ryan Watts, the positive thing, is that he is a physical specimen. He is built in the modern mold of the Richard Sherman large cornerback types. The knock against him is that he can get burned a little bit. He's not the fastest guy, or at least he hadn't shown it last year. And so when I was talking to him, he was like, I want to run 40. And I'm going to, because like a lot of these guys don't run the 40, typically. I get it, right? If you're a fast guy, you wouldn't want to prove that you wouldn't want the little Jordan Humphrey number to come out, right? If you're somebody who people can see on tape, like it wouldn't stun me. It would not stun me if Worthy just says I'm not running 40. Because like people know that he's a burner. So people don't need, the only thing in my opinion that could happen is if, I mean, yes, there's he gets a 4.29, right? All of a sudden, oh my God, this guy's incredible. There's also the situation where he gets a 4.41, and everybody's like, ooh, he's not as fast as we thought.
That's why you got to wait to do it at your pro day when it's all hand timed.
That's what you got to do at your pro day, absolutely. But credit to Ryan Watts. He said, he knows that speed is his issue, and he says, I'm running the 40. And he says, I think I can get low 4.4s. And like Carter said, buddy, if that happens, we're talking first, second round. Because that is a physical specimen that is also a jet.
And if we're being quite honest, I don't see it happening.
No, I don't see it.
You told me that number and I said, really?
Yeah. He's, like I said.
Great player. Ryan, great player,
great dude.
Man. Way faster than me.
Rooting for him. I think he'll do great in a bunch of other things, right? He's, like I mentioned, physical specimen. A lot of the metrics are going to be really, really good. Speed's not one of them. And I think, again, that's not saying there's not a spot in the NFL for him. There are spots in the NFL for those type of guys. It's just not going to be like first round. That's basically what we're trying to say.
He was a lot better than this, but he reminded me so much this year of the late 2010s Texas teams with Tom Herman, where he would get up on the mic and talk about how all his secondary guys squatted 350 pounds, and they were all just so jacked and just put in spin cycles and burned because they were so much bigger than all the slot wide receivers, but the slot receivers were 5'10", 190.
Sure.
Touchdown.
A lot of the guys that I'm intrigued by are these Texas guys, is because, yes, I'm very interested in Jared Wiley, right? Like physical specimen who really this past year really caught on and like really became kind of the guy that we hoped he would coming out of Temple. But like I look at Texas and I see like a Jordan Whittington, right? Where you're like, okay, here's a guy that hampered by injury, not as good of a career as he thought he would have. What is there, right? He's somebody who I think will be maybe have to look to some of these alternative leagues, right? Somebody who like kills in the USFL, all of a sudden finds himself in a training camp, and then boom, all of a sudden. Because like, let's keep that in mind. The combine, yes, it's called the NFL Combine, but a lot of these guys are just trying to get on pros somewhere. qualifiers,
Yeah.
CFL, USFL, or USL, not whatever it's called, and then hoping that either translates into a career or then parlays itself into a training camp invite. So by me saying that, I think that these guys can hope for big combines, that's not me saying that they're going to be first rounders, right? I think that, yes, Byron Murphy can work his way to be a high first rounder. Somebody like a Ryan Watts, I'm not saying if he doesn't run a 40, he's not getting drafted. What I'm saying is, all of a sudden, whether it becomes, I think he will get drafted, but if he doesn't, okay, then there are still other avenues that these guys will be hoping they can point to and say, look, here's a laser timed X, right? Here's an official bench X that you can take to whatever scouting service you want to use to go to USL or something. So this isn't just for the draft. This is for training camp. This is for practice squads. This is for so many things for a lot of these guys. Because, all these guys aren't going to get drafted. And that doesn't mean that they're not all good.
Oh, yeah, no, it does not mean they're not all good. And we're talking about the elite of the elite here.
Sure. I was about to say, this is just Texas. There's, like you mentioned, this is a deep wide receiver class. If Luke McCaffrey doesn't get drafted, that doesn't mean Luke McCaffrey wasn't a good college wide receiver. It means that, hey, it turns out Roma Dunze he was in the same class as Roma Dunze.
Luke McCaffrey, I'll never let anyone take away last season at Rice for you.
There you go.
A magician last year.
There you go. Alrighty. I think that's all we got, y'all. I think we're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. I'm all talked out.
All right. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining us. Please subscribe everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Republic of Football, all the shows, all that stuff. Promo code DCTF at Home Field Apparel, 15% off your first time purchase. I believe they'll be rolling out new schools this offseason as well. So keep in mind if you are a fan. I don't know what schools. So I'm not hinting towards anything here. But I do know they do typically do their off-season rollouts soonish. So.
We're all getting new apparel from Home Field.
Yes, we are actually planning to get new apparel. So maybe in the first show back, after you want to do it in the Bachelorette pad, or you want to do the first show back?
Well, I mean, we're gonna be. You said that. We're gonna be doing it next week. So.
Sure. Depends on when they come in.
Yeah.
We'll try to coordinate something, but we'll have like our shirts and our nice apparel.
Have you decided what school you're gonna get?
I'm probably getting the UTEP.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I think it's the Dunking. It's like the Dunking Minor.
Yeah, I like that one.
I know you said Iowa, but those Iowa shirts are looking nice.
They're pretty great.
I am that 100% locked into getting an Iowa.
Okay, then I'll have to go something else.
Yeah, sorry. That's my thing. Okay.
There's a couple Baylor ones I like.
Wait.
Yeah.
I need to look at a Rutgers shirt.
Oh, wait. You get Rutgers. I'll get Iowa.
Oh, okay. I'll get Rutgers. Okay.
I think I should get.
I actually did not look.
Well, let me look at those Rutgers shirts first.
It's not a large selection, but
Anyways.
they do got. Ooh, that's a nice one. I like that. I like the simplicity of that one.
Anyways, go to Home Field Apparel.
Now we're just looking at
Is that a knight riding a zebra?
That's a scarlet knight riding. No, it's a horse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyway, regardless, I was about to say now we're just live streaming
Please,
us looking at homefieldaparel.com.
Hey, that's actually not a bad content plan for the off season.
It's not.
Live streaming, looking through one of our sponsors.
Watch me surf the internet.
Yeah.
Don't stream the screen. Just watch a stream of me looking at my screen. Anyway, with that being said, yeah, thanks for listening. Mike Elko, Willie Fritz, Scotty Walden, give us a call. Stay tuned, maybe. Who knows? We'll talk to you guys soon. Maybe next week from the Bachelorette pad. We'll see exactly how that schedule rolls out. We'll see. In the meantime, go Rutgers.